Victims have branded Ghislaine Maxwell's tape on the pervert a whitewash. She, of course, amongst other things, said the Prince Andrew picture was fake. Donald Trump had never had much to do with Jeffrey Epstein and some other stuff as well. The Sun. Virginia's revenge. This is a great royal story, actually. On the Epstein vibe still. Prince Andrew's sex abuse accuser, Virginia Giuffre, is taking revenge from beyond the grave in a bombshell memoir. The book, set to be published in October, will tell how she was trafficked as a teenager. The Eye, we'll talk about this one. Channel migrants will be first for fast-track asylum hearings as Yvette Cooper moves to close hotels. And The Independent revealed obesity crisis costing the UK £107 billion every year. More than 1 in 4 adults in the UK are now classified as obese. Levels have doubled since the 1990s. Welcome along, Paul Cox, headliner, GBNews star, top comedian. Welcome along to the panel. Any more?
Councillor and MP as well. I recognise myself when I come onto this show. So I'm going to miss you, Ben. I really am.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not crying, mate. It's just dusty in here. But
5 is in the post. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Right, let's look at the front page of The Eye. Channel migrants will be first for fast-track asylum hearings as Yvette Cooper moves to close hotels. So Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper's new appeals process will cut hotel use, they aim, as protests mount, Paul. Good thing, bad thing?
Well, I mean, on the face of it, it's a good thing, but if you've got to forget everything that's happened in the last 5 to 10 years. It seems schizophrenic now, the Labour policy on this. It seems very retrospective. The horse is bolted. It's schizophrenic in the sense that the Bell Hotel has just been closed down, essentially, on a planning irregulation.
They're appealing it.
Which they're appealing. This seems to do quite the counter to that and close down the process before it even gets started. So they want to keep one hotel open and close down and expedite the process. On the other hand, I think what it is, it feels very knee-jerky. It feels to me like they recognise this is the single most political hot potato currently, and they really need to do something about it. One thing I would say is it's incredibly difficult to fix this problem, right? And it's sat with Labour at the moment. I don't know if they've got the skills to do this, but it's sort of do or die now. Fix this issue,
yeah,
or lose 10 Downing Street.
Bill, you said that this asylum plan to get rid of the judges and have an adjudication panel has been in the pipeline for some time now.
Several months.
But
right.
Can I just ask you whether you think, of course, on Tuesday, Reform UK have this big song and dance thing about mass deportations, detain, no right to appeal. Do you think maybe that it was briefed to the Sunday papers today just to get ahead of that, or was it just a massive coincidence?
It may be. I mean, it's been a long-standing plan, and you know, they're trying to get out on the front foot and make the case. But the reality is that people can apply for asylum. They can then appeal, and at the moment it's taking an average of a year for that appeal to take place. That is clogging up the system. That is keeping people in hotels. That is acting as a green light for people to come here as potential asylum seekers. And I think these panels that they're proposing to set up to dramatically reduce the timescale for the appeals is a good move.
Well, that was my next question, Chloe. So out with the judges who... I mean, let's remind ourselves, first of all, on some of the decisions these judges have made. So, for example, I think it was I won't guess the nationality, but it was a paedophile, convicted paedophile in the UK who had abused some kids, said that they couldn't possibly go back to where they came from because they'd be chastised in their community for being a paedophile. Maybe should have thought about it in the first place. Then you have the Albanian crime lord who said he couldn't go back to Albania because his nephew didn't like foreign chicken nuggets, and so on and so on. So out with these judges. Very good, very good. Chloe, this new adjudication panel will be made up of, well, we don't know who, maybe civil servants. Who would you like to see on an asylum adjudication panel? I say Nana Akua.
Yeah,
just Nana Akua.
Good idea. Let's just have all the GB News presenters just on that panel, but I doubt that's who Yvette Cooper is going to choose. I am a bit concerned about this because one of the reasons why we have these bonkers decisions around chicken nuggets and whatnot is because the judges in the first-tier tribunal are typically like the worst ones that couldn't get a job anywhere else. It's like the least paid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's why you get bonkers decisions. If you then have the Home Office appeal because there's been a stupid decision, it will then go higher up to judges that actually know what they are talking about. But the Home Office usually doesn't appeal because they haven't got time for a million different appeals. Are these adjudicators that aren't even judges, are they going to be even worse than the rubbish judges that we have in these first-tier tribunals? I'm a bit concerned.
Any idea, Bill, who will make up the adjudication panel?
You know, blaming judges. Judges apply the law.
Well, I'm sorry, I will blame them. When a paedo is allowed to stay in the UK because he'll be thought of less in his community back home because he's a paedo, I mean, something's gone wrong.
That's why you need to change the law. And the government is rightly reframing Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which is the right to family life, which is used far too often as a means of blocking legitimate decisions to refuse people's applications.
But my understanding is that correct me if I'm wrong, that it already says that you're only meant to apply this in exceptional circumstances, and because it's being overused, they're now deciding to basically clarify exactly what exceptional circumstances are, because judges are wrongly applying it as an exceptional circumstance when it clearly isn't exceptional.
Yeah, and they're also...
So hence it's judges making poor decisions.
No, because that's what the legislation actually says at the moment. That's why you need to reframe Article 8. And also, it's about rebalancing the interests of the community as against the interest of the individual applicant.
I don't know if this makes any sense to me, right? I mean, this metaphorically is like taking a wee at one end of the pool, walking down the other and getting in for a swim, right? Because we are talking about once you're in the system, OK? Forget the system, OK? There is no need for this bureaucracy if we, A, de-incentivise them coming straight away, B, stop them coming, and if they do get here, deport them in mass numbers so that we don't have this problem. And then this all becomes nugatory. Yeah. None of this would make any difference, except anyone who can get in a dinghy from France and get themselves somewhere near Dover will get into the system, will not be sent back, and could be here. You say for a minimum of a year, Bill. It's often 3, 4, 5 years. And
before about the average.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I didn't want to start this early. We're coming in hard, Bill. But what I mean is, we all know that it's much longer than a year, and I just think this whole thing is arguing about nothing. It's like knitting clouds.
Yeah. I've been saying for weeks, haven't I, Paul? Maybe last week, you remember, I've said I'm sick of these debates about these different schemes and the pilots and the one in and the one out, and maybe give the French some more money there. Should we allow the migrants bus passes into town? How much money on Aspen cards should they get? It's absolute BS. Just deal with the problem at source. You're dealing with stupid symptoms and getting bogged down in inane debates like this, where I actually think they want us to debate on this level, because you get bogged down and you forget the actual problem. Exactly. You forget what you're talking about initially.
I'll tell you why. I looked up earlier what the key manifesto points for Labour were, and
he's opening ChatGPT.
Yeah, I am opening ChatGPT. Tell me you're 45.
ChatGPT commentator.
But it makes so much sense to use it, because it was building Britain again, which was getting things. But no one really cares about this right now. That we're only building homes because we're overly populated, so we don't need to build too many homes if we decrease the population. Switch to Great British Energy. Who cares about that? That's Ed Miliband. He's bonkers. Just put him in a room and lock the door. Get the NHS back on its feet. Yes, please, Bill. Let's do that. I mean, let's face it, no one's ever been able to do that since about 1948. So,
not true. The last Labour government reduced waiting lists to 18 weeks.
I think they probably just moved the statistics around and made it look good.
Oh,
Bill.
come on, Paul. That's nonsense. You know, when Labour left office in 2010, not only were waiting lists at a maximum of 18 weeks, but public satisfaction with the NHS was at an all-time high. Those were not manufactured statistics. That was what people actually thought about the system.
I was around, and there were some good days during those Blair years where the NHS did seem to operate a lot better now. I mean, that was the sort of time where you could just ring up the doctors and, guess this, Chloe, you won't remember this because you're only 25. You rang the doctors up and they gave you an appointment.
Really?
I just about remember those days as well.
You just got an appointment.
I remember when I was a young'un, I had, is it croup or whooping cough? Is that the same thing?
It could be.
I had some sort of barking cough. I was maybe 6 or 7. The doctor, the GP, who we used to love and know, we knew, he was the family doctor for years. Dr. Daz, I'm not sure if he's still around. Hello, Dr. Daz, if he is. He came round in the middle of the night, 3 in the morning, and he white-boxed the bathroom with a kettle. Apparently it helped with whatever I had, the whooping cough, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, I mean, you don't get that anymore.
You can only dream.
I'm asthmatic, and as a child, the doctor would come out to me regularly.
We've got on the front of the Telegraph that patients with cancer are all going to private healthcare now. They don't trust the NHS to
same doctors
to save them.
Same doctors, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you actually get seen in
Well, yeah.
Less than 10 years.
I mean, it's worlds apart. It's private healthcare, and I won't bore you with my story. Anyway, Chloe, a story that you're quite keen to get stuck into from the Times. New research has revealed young adults are increasingly looking for traditional office jobs as they've become unhappy working from home. I could have told you that. 4 in 10 16 to 24-year-olds say they feel lonely or socially isolated because of work circumstances, and a significantly higher proportion than any other group. So are many of the Gen Zs who began their careers during COVID lockdown now longing for a return to the office? Chloe, what's your take?
Yeah, I think some people are. I mean, we say, oh, Gen Z are soft, they don't want to get off their bums and go into the office. But I think some people, after doing it for a while, are starting to yearn for it. Because initially it seems great. Oh, I don't have to sit on the tube when it's packed with commuters. Childcare's easier, dog care's easier. But as human beings, you know, we crave socialising, we want to be around other people, and I'm not suggesting that these Gen Zers are wanting to be in the office 5 days a week, but I think they want to see people a little bit more. And I've started to experience this actually, because I mean I work from home by myself, and now I'm sort of more craving to say come into the studios more, even if I'm meant to just be on for 10 minutes, just so I can see some people.
Yeah.
And you know, I am lucky to be self-employed and do something that I love, but we all have days, even if you do what you love, where you just don't feel like doing it. But when you've got a job in the office, you think, even if I don't feel like doing my work today, I'm at least going to see some people that are fun to be around. But it's really hard to sort of get yourself to start working when you haven't got anyone to see that you're going to enjoy being around.
And also, do you know what? When I was at my last newspaper, I learned more in 2 weeks on the road in Portugal working on a Madeleine McCann story with one of the top reporters there. He was a veteran reporter for 40 years. I'd been at the paper for 5 years by that point. I learned more in that 2 weeks just being on the road with that guy than I had up until that point, 5 years of coming into the office. So it matters. You need to be around people who know, who have walked the walk, who've got experience, and when you're stuck at home, you don't get the such a cliche. You
don't bounce ideas off. You can't bounce ideas off people in an email chain. And Steve Jobs, what he did at Apple is he moved the position of the toilet blocks to be in the centre of the office, so people would bump into each other more.
Really?
So they'd have more conversations where they build ideas. But there's also time when you need to put your head down on a document, you want to be alone, and doing that day at home is perhaps better than being in an
office.
office.
In the office, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you lose innovation, you lose productivity, and you lose sociability by people not being in the workplace. And I think all sorts of employers, public and private, need to crack the whip, and I think an absolute minimum of 3 days a week should be in the office.
I mean, that sounds quite generous. I mean, the civil service, get them all in. You know, the civil service was striking for having to go in 2 days a week. Unbelievable. Get your backsides in the office, you lazy so-and-sos. And also, working from home cripples local economies, all the sandwich shops, the coffee shops and so on. Remember during COVID...
It's dead now.
Yeah, it's dead.
Yeah. You know, I had an office job for many years, and the London office that I worked in Southwark in London during the COVID time, it must have lost 60, 70, maybe even 80% of the sandwich-type shops at local traders all around there. Even the big franchises like Pret a Manger, etc. They disappeared. Gales, they disappeared. It changed the sort of marketplace forever. Hybrid working is probably the way forward. I think hybrid's best. On the basis that I think, you know, there's something about the human psyche, right? We need to be together, but once you prove you don't need to do something, it's very difficult to prove to a human that you should go back and do it, and you don't need to be in the office 100% of the time.
Just before we move on, one comment which has summed up the sort of work from home debate quite nicely, I think, from Lady of the House. Good evening to you. You've said, imagine what it's like for an OAP that's lost their spouse and doesn't see or speak to anyone for weeks on end. Loneliness is such an epidemic. Right, coming up after the break, after cleaning up Washington, D.C., lucky me, just in time for my arrival, President Trump's now turning his sights to Chicago as he threatens to put the National Guard on the streets of the Windy City. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. every day from 6 a.m.
I remember being introduced to Ken Bates.
Chelsea
who
champ.
owned Chelsea, and just asked to sit down with him and then spend the next sort of 2 or 3 hours with him having lunch. And an ex of Donald Trump, Ivana Trump, his wife, and
Oh, you had dinner with her?
yeah, I remember having dinner actually with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Did you?
Yeah. You said earlier you couldn't think
You
of
couldn't
any.
think of anyone else listing them.
I can't think of anyone. That literally just literally come into my head.
Hi, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Can we go back to that, please?
Catherine Zeta-Jones was. I used to live in a flat in Fulham, and I'm up at the top of the flat, and I was a sports reporter at the BBC, and I went round to Pizza Express, and I'm sitting eating, having my dough balls and everything else I was having, and reading the back pages of the papers in preparation for the work that I was doing the next day.
Yeah.
And I walked out of the cafe, and the beautiful, most stunning woman, Catherine Zeta-Jones, was walking by, and she said, "Oh, hello, Eamon." And then Welsh accent.
Really?
Hello, Eamon. How are you? And we were standing talking, and we were nattering away. And she said, "Anyway, why are we standing talking in the street? Have you eaten?"
And you said no.
I went, no, I didn't say no. I went, no. And I went inside, and I remember Pizza Express was empty. And the waiter saw me again, and I went and sat down with Catherine, and he said, "And you, sir, are you eating?" And I went, "Yes." He said, "What are you having?" I said, "Could I have the dough balls?" And I've never been able to eat dough balls again since.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Now, after cleaning up Washington, D.C., President Trump may be about to send thousands of National Guard troops to Chicago as he extends his control of Democrat-run cities. Although it's not been officially signed off yet by the president, the Washington Post reports it could happen as early as September. And it comes after Trump mobilised the National Guard, as I said, in D.C., earlier this month, claiming the capital was being taken over by bloodthirsty gangs. Well, joining us live now from DC, I hope you're safe and sound, Hilary Fordwich. How are you feeling? Are you feeling safer after the National Guard took to the streets?
Oh, absolutely, Ben. Pleasure to be back with you. And I will say this. You look at what's happened in terms of mainly, most importantly, carjackings, because people like me drive in. A lot of people obviously take what in England is the underground, the metro. But there were 297 last year. Before Trump sent in the National Guard, in those 3 weeks, there were 12. Last week, with the National Guard there, Ben, there was 1.
Wow, so it's working. Let's just describe for us then what, as a resident of DC, you're in the streets, you're about town, you're doing whatever, you know, you're in DC. Tell us visually what it looks like. I mean, are they going around on pickup trucks with guns showing, and what is it?
No, not quite. Actually, if I might, I'd like to draw a contrast between this and the BLM riots. I remember when the BLM riots were taking place, all these windows were boarded up. And what was terrible, Ben, was it was restaurants, it was shops, it was everywhere. And then there was no National Guard and there were no police. And it was just really, really weird, actually. I felt very unsafe. I was going to a studio of a different network in there, a couple networks, in fact. What's lovely about this is you just see, you see increased police force as well as the National Guard. And don't forget, it's not just the National Guard. There are 6 other red Republican states that have sent in their National Guard presence as well. So what does it look like? It basically is, I would say, gents in uniforms in their Jeeps and trucks, etc. And I will say I've had some English relatives that were just visiting. They took a photograph with a number of members of the National Guard with the National Monument in the back, and they were all smiling. So they've been very friendly to pedestrians, to people. What's important are the number of guns that have actually been removed from our streets, Ben, and the number of crimes that have been prevented. And last week, there was only 1 homicide. And I think, given that your intro to this segment, Chicago should be waiting for this with open arms because their homicide rate was 274 last year.
Goodness me. So what's going on with Chicago then? Is the National Guard going to be on the streets of the Windy City? What's going on?
Well, I don't know because obviously I'm not as familiar with Chicago. I do know exactly, you're right. That's exactly what Trump has said he's going to do. What he wants to do is clean up America. And this is the analogy that President Trump uses, Ben, that I think is brilliant. He quotes his father and he says his father said, when you're going into a restaurant, if the front door is filthy, the kitchen's going to be ghastly, although his father didn't have an English accent, but he said it's going to be revolting and dirty, something like that. Don't go into that restaurant. Ben, this is the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. You shouldn't come into a city that's so unsafe for tourists and internationally, and people like me, like you say, are on business. As for Chicago, what President Trump means is, this is the first entry city for a lot of people, but he wants to go to every other high crime city, such as Chicago. So what does it mean for them? It will mean, just like DC, fewer carjackings, fewer homicides, and the guns off the streets by people who shouldn't have them.
OK, so Hillary, why does he get so much stick for this then? What's he accused of? Being authoritarian, a dictator? What's the left's problem with it?
You're absolutely right. Well, first of all, two things. Number one, there were protests in Washington, D.C. And what was interesting about that, Ben, the actual statistic in terms of the demographics of Washington, D.C., 53% are Black or Hispanic actual residents. Those protests, looking at them, because I saw them and I saw photographs online, it was probably about 90% white, elderly people. They don't live in DC, Ben. When people get older, they move out of DC, they move south, they move somewhere else. So those were paid protests. Now to your question, what does it mean? It means that the left is using this as some kind of talking point. How can they say, oh, lower crime is bad? They're using the authoritarian line because there's nothing else to say. Really, they don't have a message anymore, Ben. They've just got to be anti-Trump and use something like saying he's a fascist. Now, as for Chicago, just going back to Chicago and linking this to your question, the highest crime rate in Chicago is black on black crime, black on black homicides. Don't forget, President Trump has the highest approval rating amongst Black Americans that he's ever had, and they voted for him. So I think this is really getting to the core of the Democratic Party. They're leaking, hemorrhaging the black vote, so they're having their knickers in a twist.
Yeah, and just on Chicago, President Trump, I'm reading, he's gone on one of his legendary sort of monologues. He says... black women in Chicago are wearing red hats. They're wearing red MAGA hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago, please.
Yeah, actually, can I make note of this? You're absolutely right. And I will tell you, Ben, and I was on the GBNews before the election, and I remember predicting that President Trump would win when nobody else said he would win. You know why? I had seen a black councilwoman interviewed the November before, the year before the election, right? And you know what she said? She said, there is a housing center here. 5,000 illegals were housed in there with free housing, free food, and the local black poor population went to that center, Ben, to get a free Thanksgiving meal. They were turned away, and she said they are all now going to vote for Trump. So, yes, I think you're totally right. That's a good quote, and I think that's going to happen in Chicago.
Just finally, before I let you go, Hillary, there's a new poll showing that more Americans strongly disapprove of Trump's second term. Are you familiar with that poll?
Yes, I am, and I don't trust the outlets. Sorry, don't. I don't know many Americans that put up their hand and say, I'd like more crime. I'd like to have fewer things in my shops that are affordable. I like high petrol prices. No, they don't.
OK, yeah, it's from YouGov and The Economist, conducted August 15th to the 18th. Hillary, thank you so much. I guess I'll see you in DC in a week or two, whenever you're around. So, yeah, mine's a margarita.
Yes. Great.
Thanks, Hillary. Take care. Right, let us know what you think on that GBNews stock. What are you laughing at, Paul?
just the way that Hillary went, yeah.
Yeah, I got rejected, I think. I'll go and have a coffee by myself somewhere. Bill, you've just got back from Chicago, haven't you? How did you feel? Will you feel safe?
Perfectly safe.
You weren't carjacked?
No, and, I mean, Trump is deliberately picking fights with Democrat-run cities in a way that is contrary to the separation of powers between the state and the state at the top and the state level government, and it's not justified by the crime statistics. Yes, crime is far higher than it is in this country, but if you look at the Washington figures, they've gone down in the last year or so, and he's just seeking to use the National Guard in a wholly unconstitutional manner.
Sounds like some of the citizen residents there are asking him to come. They've had enough, Bill.
I don't know where you get the evidence for that, Paul.
Well, just because Bill said it. Ben said it about 3 minutes ago. That's my only evidence. But didn't you read from an article where there were people in Chicago saying, "Please come to"?
Oh yeah,
that's what Trump said.
No, there's also a black influencer from Chicago who said, I mean, it's just one lady, it's some online influencer.
and
that's enough.
You've just pointed out his disapproval rating in his second term is very significant.
Well, Hillary says fake news, don't care.
I think that there is a concern that it does look somewhat dictatorial to some people if he's constantly using emergency powers. When he brought in the National Guard in California, there was a certain
but
line.
It cleans the streets up. I don't get this. You're living in a hellhole, crime-ridden hellhole, where there's murders taking place and they've been slashed dramatically. What's people's problem with it?
Well, I mean, a lot of people will say it's worth it, but then others will say,
Get the army and the navy on the channel.
there's no excuse for using emergency powers too much when it's not
Let's use emergency powers here to stop the boats on the channel. Let's use emergency powers to stop phone snatches in London. Let's use emergency powers to stop grooming gangs. You know, people have had enough. They've really had enough. Anyway, stick with us on Ben Leo Tonight, Late Edition. A story breaking on the front page of The Guardian, my favourite newspaper, saying MPs report a sharp rise in online abuse over immigration and debate. So the levels of harassment and even death threats towards MPs has been described as worse than Brexit. And if you can remember how sort of hot under the collar Brexit was in 2015-16, that's saying something. Back in just a tick on Ben Leo Tonight, Late Edition.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a settled night to come with plenty of clear skies. That leads into plenty of sunshine on Monday before turning more unsettled on Tuesday. Now, having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of high pressure dominating Sunday and Monday before being replaced by low pressure in the week. But back to the rest of this evening then. This cloud across much of England will shift its way eastwards and melt away. And then for the vast majority, it's fine, it's dry overnight with lengthy clear skies, still just holding on to some cloud across Shetland. There'll be some mist and fog patches as well, but otherwise temperatures generally holding up and a bit more of a breeze developing out to the west. So to start Monday morning across Scotland then, there'll be some mist and fog patches, but otherwise a much brighter picture here compared to recent days. Likewise for Northern Ireland, a mixture of sunny spells, but a bit more of a breeze developing. And then for Bank Holiday Monday as well, across England and Wales, it's fine, it's dry. There is just some cloud lingering across parts of East Anglia. So not much changes throughout much of Monday then. Blue skies for most of us, still some cloud just holding on across Shetland, but a change across Northern Ireland later. Sunny spells, but also this band of rain eventually moving in from the west with stronger winds. Now the winds are coming up from a southerly direction, so actually temperatures are going to be rising. We could see up to 28, 29 degrees, so feeling warm in that sunshine. As we go through Tuesday morning though, warm start, but this band of rain will continue to move its way eastwards. Then behind that, a mixture of sunny spells, but also some frequent blustery showers and temperatures falling closer to average. Similar picture on Wednesday and Thursday with longer spells of rain or heavy showers, temperatures around 20 or 21. Bye-bye.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Late edition, let's look at some of the inside stories in tomorrow's papers. The Daily Mail, Prince Andrew is facing a bombshell new Epstein, well, a raft of claims in a new Epstein book. Let's have a quick look at this. The palace is braced for fresh revelations as unsparing memoir by the prince's sex accuser is to be published from beyond the grave. The Sun have described this as Virginia Giuffre's revenge, from beyond the grave in this bombshell new memoir. The Duke of York, of course, has denied they had sex together. The book will be published in October and will tell how she was trafficked as a teenager. And The Guardian, maybe let's chat about this very quickly. There's been a sharp rise, according to MPs, in online abuse received towards politicians over immigration, the debate around immigration. Some MPs have said the sort of temperature is worse than Brexit, and I fondly remember the Brexit days. I mean, of course, we had Joe Cox, who was murdered during the Brexit campaign. I don't think it was directly as a result of Brexit, was it? Bill, do you remember?
No,
it was
not Bill.
It was a far-right British nationalist who murdered her.
But, was it? Yeah, it doesn't really matter anyway. But I mean, so,
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? How do you feel about this reports of MPs getting abuse and death threats even?
Yeah, I think whatever your views about politics, immigration, I think the threats that are delivered to members of parliament in this country are beyond the Richter scale. You know, I never once felt threatened in 13 years as an MP. It's an every week experience for MPs these days, and I think it's wholly unacceptable.
Not condoning it at all, but is it not indicative of the sort of the state of where we are in the country, where people are so angry, so sort of pent up and frustrated with the direction of travel? Is it not a symptom of that?
Look, people have concerns, but nothing justifies some of the threats that are made against members of parliament online, and indeed some of them in practice. You know, we've had 2 members of parliament murdered in this country over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just shocking and appalling.
Yeah. Yeah, the late Joe Cox and David.
I mean, this is partly why I'm so passionate about sorting out the migrant crisis, is not because just of the concern of the cost to the taxpayer, but because genuine, enormous resentment is building. And most of the people that go out and protest a migrant hotel are good people, concerned mums and dads who are peacefully protesting. But you will inevitably, as resentment grows and people feel so disenfranchised to their government, feel like nobody's listening to them, you will have some idiots who resort to horrendous threats and violence and whatnot. And that is very, very concerning. We've also had Kemi Badenoch do a piece with The Times talking about her receiving racist abuse. And you are going to see genuine racism in this country growing if we don't sort out this migrant crisis. If people continue for years and years to feel like they're being treated like second-class citizens in their own country, that will happen. And we are, I'm very proud of this country being one of the least racist countries in the world, and I don't want that to change. That's why it is so important that we sort this issue out.
It's not just, I'd argue, immigration. You get it with the Palestine-Israel debate as well. I'll tell you now, some death threats towards my kids in recent weeks, which the police are looking into, and that's from sort of far-left nutters. So people from all sides, extremists, not just people, extremists from all sides of the political spectrum are now doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's actually, within the Guardian article, there's a quote from the, the Labour MP for the Gower. She said, "It's like we can't do right from wrong, and we're getting it from both sides."
Yeah.
That's when you know you're doing really badly, doesn't it? When you can't please anybody. And look, nobody... I don't even need to say it. I'm sorry to hear that anybody's getting any sort of threat. It's a difficult job being an MP. But we essentially entrust our safety, our well-being, societal well-being with these people. We say... we've seen what's happened with Lucy Connolly. You know, undoubtedly, we're now getting the second side of the story. It's very embarrassing and it's shocking to see. It's very embarrassing for Keir Starmer that we're seeing the small boats crisis envelop into this absolutely huge political beast that just can't seem to be fixed by anybody when all of the solutions are there for people to pick up and run with. So I think the problem we have is that the people in power are just, for whatever reason, unable to deliver on anything. And we're just going to have a sea change because it's just going to get worse. I think it's unfortunate. I don't condone any violence. I don't condone any hate. I think, you know, we all get it online. I get it, you know, because I'm on GB News and, you know, I call myself the...
For your rubbish jokes.
Yeah, for my rubbish jokes. I call myself the People's Gammon. You know, all these things. I get it, but, you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm not in charge of anything. I can't change anything. MPs can.
OK, let's look at a story in tomorrow's Times. This is very interesting. Reform UK is calling for two-tier rights that prioritise British citizens. So Brits will be given priority over foreigners under Nigel Farage's plan to scrap the Human Rights Act. One of Reform UK's most senior figures has told the paper. Tomorrow, Farage will unveil plans to enable the arrest, detention and deportation of hundreds of thousands of people who come to the UK in small boats. And under the plans, the UK would formally withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights and other international agreements. The Human Rights Act, which enshrines the convention in British law, would be replaced by a British Bill of Rights, which would only apply to British citizens and those who had a legal right to live in the UK. So, Chloe, we hear of two-tier policing, two-tier justice. Now Reform are pro-two-tier, but pro-two-tier human rights.
I think that it's common sense that Brits should be ahead in the queue on various things. I mean, for example, I know this is about human rights, but I think it's mad that you can turn up at some country and immediately have free healthcare and everything all given to you. If I go to another country, I expect to have to pay my way and not have all the privileges that everybody else has there.
Yeah.
I think they need to make sure that when they create a new British Bill of Rights, that they make sure it's well thought through so that people can't attack them and say, oh, you just hate human rights, you're getting rid of all of them. If we're going to leave the ECHR, we've got to think very carefully about what we put in our British Bill of Rights so that we can show we do really care about human rights. We're just applying a bit of common sense here. So we haven't got a load of people staying in our country who really shouldn't be here.
Bill, you got a problem with two-tier rights?
We already have two-tier rights. You know, for example, the benefit levels that a British citizen gets are significantly higher than an asylum seeker who's staying in a hotel. But, you know, I mean, Nigel Farage and Reform are perfectly entitled to put this prospectus forward. It's not where the British people are. You know, you look at the evidence and a clear majority of people support membership of the ECHR. Yes, it needs to be reformed, particularly Article 8, the rights to family life. But, you know, if we pulled out of the ECHR, just to take one example, it would blow a coach and horses through the peace process in Northern Ireland, the peace that we've got in Northern Ireland, because the ECHR is embedded in the Belfast Agreement.
I think that one of the reasons why so many people support staying in the ECHR is because they think if we leave the ECHR, we're just getting rid of human rights altogether. And that's why I say it is really important that before we do that, that Reform, if they get in and they're able to do this, that they communicate very clearly with people. This is what we're putting forward as an alternative. We're going to do X, Y and Z to make sure it is in place immediately when we leave the ECHR. There's not going to be a crossover period where nobody has any human rights in the country. It's important they communicate effectively.
Okie doke. After the break, a GB News exclusive of... I can't believe this. Or maybe, Bill, you'll be great to comment on this as a former Armed Forces Minister. A British veteran and their family have been forced out of their accommodation to make way for Afghan asylum seekers, and they've been hit with homelessness and forced to, quote-unquote, start from scratch. More on that after the break.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A settled few days across much of the Mediterranean, plenty of hot sunshine across most areas. Just the risk of a few showers, a bit breezy across parts of Greece at the moment, but sunny spells stretching across into Italy and western parts of the Mediterranean as well. Just 1 or 2 heavy showers possible, but plenty of dry weather. Again, 1 or 2 showers across Madeira. It generally stays dry the next few days, temperatures near average, but an increasing risk of showers by midweek.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates.
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Here's a GB News exclusive for you. A Afghan asylum scheme has forced a veteran, a British Army veteran, and his family out of accommodation. As they tell GB News, our mental health is in tatters. So, speaking to the channel, Vicky Berg claims the Defence Infrastructure Organisation and North Yorkshire Council, 2 separate entities, have shut the door on her veteran husband and their family in favour of the Afghan Citizens Resettlement Scheme. So basically, Bill Rammell, former Armed Forces Minister, they are claiming that they've been kicked out of their accommodation and Afghan asylum seekers are now taking their place. Is this something you've heard of before?
No, and I can't quite get my head around the story because he's left the army, and my understanding is the accommodation comes with being in the army. So, you know, if it is the case that he's been removed in favour of asylum seekers. I think that's wrong, but the story doesn't quite stack up for me.
Well, there's a quote from Mrs. Berg who said, "You should have 93 days after you leave the army in order to find somewhere else to stay," which we haven't been given. We asked for the letter to say when we actually had to end the tenancy agreement here. Again, they told us it was blah, blah, blah. And since they were kicked out and evicted, the Afghan Citizens Resettlement Scheme, ACRS, is that the latest scheme or is that the original one?
I think that's the original one. Yeah.
Is that interpreters and so on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have taken their place, an Afghan family. I mean, it's not a good look, is it, Paul, really?
It's not. The
Regardless
optics are terrible.
Sort of
I mean, it's very difficult. As Bill says, it's very difficult, actually, to figure out whether one is directly linked to the other. In fact, the chances are it's probably not. As soon as something like accommodation like that becomes available, I'm sure these other people can just come in and use it. As irate as I'd love to get on here and start, slamming the table and saying, Bill, it's out of order. It's not Bill's fault. I don't know why I'm saying, Bill, it's out of order. But let's blame you, Bill.
Absolutely.
Why not? The optics are terrible. It's another straw on the camel's back.
I mean, we've just been talking before the break about reform bringing in two-tier rights where Brits are put first. And this is the perfect example of a story where people feel like we do have a two-tier country where people from another country are being put ahead of the queue of Brits. I mean, you've got... When we talk about the migrant crisis generally, we have got a load of people staying in hotels while you've got vets outside who were born in this country and have fought for this country sleeping outside in tents. That is a two-tier society. And we do need to flip it the other way around. If it's one or the other, an Afghan or a Brit going to have a roof over their head, I'm going to say a Brit every single time.
Well, and HMOs as well. I say again, like a broken record, I went to Bolton a few weeks ago now. I found one asylum HMO where a single English mother and her two young children were booted out by the landlord because Serco came running with 5 years guaranteed rent, all the maintenance and repairs paid for, all the bills. He served her, the landlord, served the English mum a Section 21 no-fault eviction notice. A few months later, a coach of 6 Afghans and Eritreans turned up. And the clip is online. I told the Afghan guy this and he was shocked. He said to me, "I can't believe Britain would treat English children like that in favour of people like me, Afghans." So even they're shocked about it. Right, let's have a run-through of the papers. The Daily Telegraph tomorrow, headline reads, "Trump cuts off Kyiv's long-range missiles." Angela Rayner defends her £800,000 third home hypocrisy. The Daily Express, a smuggler, small boats crisis is Labour's fault. This is an Albanian people smuggler who has said that Labour could stop the boats tomorrow if they wanted. The Daily Mirror, whitewash. Jeffrey Epstein victims have branded Ghislaine Maxwell's tape on the pervert a whitewash. That's following her DOJ interviews. The Sun, Virginia Giuffre's revenge from beyond the grave against Prince Andrew with a bombshell memoir. He denies any wrongdoing. The Eye, Channel migrants will be first for fast-track asylum hearings as Cooper moves to close hotels. The Independent revealed obesity crisis costing the UK £107 billion every year. The Mail, Prince Andrew facing bombshell new Epstein book. The Palace brace for fresh revelations. And The Guardian, MPs report a sharp rise in online abuse over the immigration debate. Some linking it to Brexit, saying it's worse than Brexit. Thank you, panel. Thank you, viewers. It's my last Ben Leo tonight. I'm not leaving GB News. We are going to DC to launch a new show for UK audiences, and I'll be on the channel more than ever before. But thank you very much for all your support on Ben Leo tonight over the past 6 or 7 months. It's been an absolute dream to have a show named after myself. It's every kid's dream if you want to get involved in journalism, and it's been a privilege. But as I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here more than ever before. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you for having us every Sunday night for so long.
Yeah, I'll be going to DC in the next couple of weeks, so lots of fun to come. And again, thank you so much. It's been a blast. It's not the end of it, though. And Alex Armstrong tonight starts next weekend. Thank you, guys. Good night. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a settled night to come with plenty of clear skies. That leads into plenty of sunshine on Monday before turning more unsettled on Tuesday. Now, having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of high pressure dominating Sunday and Monday before being replaced by low pressure in the week. But back to the rest of this evening then. This cloud across much of England will shift its way eastwards and melt away. And then for the vast majority, it's fine, it's dry overnight with lengthy clear skies, still just holding on to some cloud across Shetland. There'll be some mist and fog patches as well, but otherwise temperatures generally holding up and a bit more of a breeze developing out to the west. So to start Monday morning across Scotland then, there'll be some mist and fog patches, but otherwise a much brighter picture here compared to recent days. Likewise for Northern Ireland, a mixture of sunny spells, but a bit more of a breeze developing. And then for Bank Holiday Monday as well, across England and Wales, it's fine, it's dry. There is just some cloud lingering across parts of East Anglia. So not much changes throughout much of Monday then. Blue skies for most of us, still some cloud just holding on across Shetland, but a change across Northern Ireland later. Sunny spells, but also this band of rain eventually moving in from the west with stronger winds. Now the winds are coming up from a southerly direction, so actually temperatures are going to be rising. We could see up to 28, 29 degrees, so feeling warm in that sunshine. As we go through Tuesday morning though, warm start, but this band of rain will continue to move its way eastwards. Then behind that, a mixture of sunny spells, but also some frequent blustery showers and temperatures falling closer to average. Similar picture on Wednesday and Thursday with longer spells of rain or heavy showers, temperatures around 20 or 21. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m.